Every year, it seems like young players have a bigger and bigger impact at the NHL level. This year's rookie class looks like it could be one of the deepest in a long, long time. So in this video, we're going to take a look at 10 NHL prospects that could have a huge impact on their teams this coming season. Let's get started. Hey everybody, so with the NHL season getting closer, I wanted to take a look at some young players that I think could have a huge impact at the NHL level this coming season in 2022-2023. The criteria to make the list here was pretty simple. Player had to be under the age of 23 years old and have less than 25 games of NHL experience. And honestly, the list is quite long for guys that are probably going to get significant NHL time that fit that criteria. So this could be one of the deepest rookie classes that we've seen in a long, long time. But let's get into it here, starting at number 10, where I have Marco Rossi, the Minnesota Wild. He's a 20-year-old center. He was drafted in the first round, 9th overall by Minnesota a couple years ago, back in 2020. He had a very strong season in the AHL last year, 63 games played, 18 goals, 35 assists for 53 points and a plus 11 rating. He did play a couple of NHL games last season, but really didn't do much. Had 2 games played, no points, and was a -1. I think Rossi is really going to be looking to make that jump this season. And for Minnesota, they need as much talent as they can get up front, particularly at the center position. Rossi's going to have a chance to make that team and be an impactful, skilled player down the middle. And we'll see if he's able to do that. He is definitely a guy to watch in the preseason and see how he looks. And I think he could become a big-time player for the Minnesota Wild. At number 9, Kent Johnson of the Columbus Blue Jackets, 19-year-old forward. He can play center or wing. He was taken in the first round, 5th overall by Columbus in 2021. Last season, he primarily played in college at the University of Michigan. He played 32 games, scored 8 goals, 29 assists for 37 points and a plus 25 rating on that absolutely stacked Michigan team last year. After the college season ended, he did go to the NHL and play 9 games with Columbus. And in those 9 games, he had 3 assists and was a +2. I think Kent Johnson is looking to be a full-time NHL player this season, very likely going to be a full-time NHL player this season, and has great playmaking ability and should be a huge addition to go along with the adding of Johnny Gaudreau to that lineup, the re-signing of Patrick Laine, the emergence of Cole Sillinger. Look for the emergence of Kent Johnson to be this year for Columbus. Coming in at number 8, we have William Eklund of the San Jose Sharks. He is also a 2021 draft pick. He's 19 years old, can play center or wing. He was taken 7th overall by the Sharks in that 2021 draft. He played in Sweden last year in the SHL, 29 games played, 1 goal, 13 assists for 14 points and a -7 rating. Now, the SHL is notorious for young players not putting up big point totals. So actually 14 points in 29 games for a teenager in that league is pretty darn good production. And Eklund has said that his main focus is going to be making the San Jose Sharks this season and, really becoming a full-time NHLer. He did play 9 games last year for San Jose before going back to Sweden. He had 4 assists in those 9 games and was a -4. But Eklund is a guy that if he makes the Sharks this year, could really, really help that team offensively, really be a breath of fresh air for a team that is in a pretty tough spot right now and is a glimpse into the future and what is hopefully a bright future for San Jose, and Eklund being a main part of that. Number 7, we have Mason McTavish from the Anaheim Ducks. He is also a 2021 draft pick, 19 years old. Can play center or left wing. First round pick, 3rd overall by the Ducks. A lot of 2021 draft picks, I think, are going to be ready to be NHLers this season. And McTavish played kind of all over the place last year. He played in the OHL, he played in the AHL, he played some NHL games, but he primarily played in the OHL. 29 games played. He scored 20 goals, 27 assists for 47 points, and a plus 30 rating. He's having a phenomenal World Juniors currently, which is going on right now. And McTavish, I think, is going to be in that Ducks lineup and a big piece of that Ducks lineup this coming season. He did play 9 games in the NHL last year before being sent back to junior, and he had a couple goals and an assist for 3 points and a plus 3 rating in those 9 games. Look for McTavish to be a full-time Duck, and Anaheim is a team with so much young talent. You know, we saw what Zegras and Troy Terry were able to do last year. Isaac Lundstrom's back. Max Comtois is looking to come into his own. And McTavish add to that list up front for the Ducks. And I think he could have a big season in Anaheim this year. At number 6, Jack Drury of the Carolina Hurricanes. Now, he is a little bit older than a lot of the guys I've been talking about so far, but I think he is ready to finally make that jump and really become an impact player at the NHL level. He's 22 years old. He's a center. He was a second-round pick by the Hurricanes, 42nd overall back in 2018. He had a fantastic season in the AHL last year. In 68 games played, he had 20 goals, 32 assists for 52 points, and a plus 11 rating. He did get into a couple of NHL games last season. He scored 2 goals and was a plus 3. And I think Jack Drury, if he can make the Carolina roster, which I think he has a good shot at doing in the training camp and preseason this year, can really be an add to that team and really have a great season for them up front. With an extra roster spot open now with Max Pacioretty's injury, I think Drury has an even better chance of making the team and really getting a chance to produce and be an impact player in that lineup. I'm a huge fan of his. I think, you know, he's developed now. He's NHL ready. And I know he's a center and Pacioretty's a wing, and it wouldn't be an exact replacement in the lineup, but it does open up another forward spot in that Hurricanes lineup, and I think Drury is a guy that is ready to take it. At number 5, another Jack, we have Jack Quinn of the Buffalo Sabres. He is a 20-year-old right winger who was taken in the first round, 8th overall by Buffalo back in 2020, and he is coming off a monster season in the AHL. He was the AHL Rookie of the Year, played 45 games, scored 26 goals, 35 assists for 61 points in 45 games in the A. Last season was a -6, but obviously the offensive production there was absolutely outstanding. He only got a couple games in the NHL, scoring 1 goal and 1 assist for 2 points in those 2 games and an even rating. But Jack Quinn is expected to be a staple of the Sabres lineup this season and hopefully can bring that scoring and offense that he did in the AHL last year. He could be a big-time player for Buffalo this year and might get top 6 minutes right out of the gate depending on how he starts his season. Obviously, a great shooter and brings a lot of offensive ability to the table, which Buffalo certainly would love to add to their lineup. So I think Jack Quinn could become a monster scorer for the Sabres, even as early as this season. At number 4, we've got Philip Broberg of the Edmonton Oilers. He's first defenseman on the list. And he did get a decent amount of NHL time last season, but played just under the 25 games to be eligible to be on my list here. He's a 21-year-old defenseman taken in the first round, 8th overall by the Oilers back in the 2019 draft. And he had a very strong season last year, both at the AHL level and at the NHL level, more so at the AHL level where he was very good. 31 games played, 4 goals, 19 assists for 23 points and a plus 14 rating. He was fantastic in the AHL last season. And then he played quite a bit up with Edmonton. He played 23 games last season, 1 goal, 2 assists for 3 points and a -8 rating. Wasn't quite there at the NHL level last year, but with now a new season, another training camp, another preseason, more development under his belt, I think Broberg is going to be regular in the lineup for the Edmonton Oilers, especially with Duncan Keith now retired and another spot on that left side opening up on their D. I think Broberg is the guy to take it, and I think we're going to see him full-time at the NHL level this season, and he could have a big impact on the Oilers' blue line. And honestly, they're going to need him to. Evan Bouchard had a great season last year and really kind of came into his own. I think the Oilers are going to be looking for Broberg to do that this season in Edmonton. Before we get into the top three, I have a couple of honorable mentions that I wanted to talk about because honestly, there's so many young guys that I think could have really big seasons this year. I didn't want to leave too many off, so I got a couple of honorable mentions. The first one is Jacob Pelletier for the Calgary Flames. He's a 21-year-old left winger who was taken in the first round, 26 overall by the Flames in 2019. He hasn't played an NHL game yet, but he had a great season in the AHL last year. 66 games played, 27 goals, 35 assists for 62 points and a plus 22 rating. Great season in the AHL last year, and I think he's ready to get a real look at the NHL level and will have a shot to make this team in training camp and in the preseason. Definitely a guy to focus on in the Flames preseason games because he could earn himself a regular spot in the lineup. And we know the tumultuous offseason that Calgary has had, losing Johnny Gaudreau, trading away Matthew Tkachuk. They did bring in Jonathan Huberdeau, but there's going to be spots on the wing available in Calgary, and especially for a scorer like Pelletier. So he's going to have a real shot to make this team out of training camp and really be an offensive add to this lineup as a young player, as a 21-year-old, and I think he can do it, and he could have a big impact on this Calgary Flames lineup offensively if he is able to make the team, so definitely pay attention to him in the preseason this year. And another guy is Fabian Zetterlund with the New Jersey Devils, another guy that's a little bit older at 22 years old. Can play wing or center. I think he probably plays more on the wing at the NHL level. He was a third-round pick, taken 63rd overall by the New Jersey Devils back in 2017. And he also had a very strong year in the AHL last year, playing 58 games, scoring 24 goals, 28 assists for 52 points, and a +5 rating. And he also got a little bit of time at the NHL level as well, playing 14 games with the Devils, scoring 3 goals, 5 assists for 8 points and a +5 rating. I think Zetterlund's another guy to watch in training camp and in the preseason. Could be on the NHL roster right out of the gate and could be kind of a sneaky player that could become pretty darn productive at the NHL level this coming season. So be on the lookout for that name as well, as I think he's going to get a pretty good look with the Devils. Now into our top three, and these are guys that I think are going to hopefully be star players right out of the gate. And coming in at number 3, I have Cole Perfetti of the Winnipeg Jets. He's a 20-year-old forward, really can play all 3 forward positions, very versatile. He was a first-round pick, 10th overall by the Jets in 2020. Didn't play a whole lot of games last season, but is a guy that I think the Jets are going to look to have in their top 6 this coming season. Extremely talented playmaker, great with the puck. Good skater, just really good offensive instincts. He played 17 games in the AHL last year, had 6 goals, 9 assists for 15 points in those 17 games, and was a +6. He also played 18 games at the NHL level last year, scoring 2 goals, 5 assists for 7 points and a +1 in those 18 games. This season, I think he's a guy that is going to be looked at to be a big-time contributor for the Winnipeg Jets. I think they want him in their top 6. He's got the talent. Again, going to have to pay close attention to him in the preseason to see how he looks, but he is going to be given every opportunity in the world with the Jets to get a roster spot and play a significant role on that team. And if Winnipeg is going to be better than they were last season, which was very disappointing for them, they need some production out of Cole Perfetti, and this could be a big year for him in that Jets lineup. At number 2, we have Owen Power from the Buffalo Sabres. And he honestly, 1 and 2 on this list, I think, are very interchangeable. They're very equal. And I think they're probably going to be the top 2 Calder vote getters this coming season. Owen Power, 19-year-old defenseman, taken first overall in 2021 by Buffalo. Played last season at the University of Michigan, along with Kent Johnson and Matty Beniers, and all that team was absolutely stacked. He played 33 games. He had 3 goals, 29 assists for 32 points and a plus 27 rating. Almost a point per game last year in college as a defenseman. Also a very heavy plus player. And then after the college season ended, he came to the NHL, played with Buffalo for 8 games, had 2 goals and an assist for 3 points in those 8 games, and was a +3 on the Sabres blue line. He will be an absolute staple of their blue line this season, without a doubt in their top 4, maybe even on their top pair. And obviously he's a first overall selection, so he is expected to be a big-time player right out of the gate. And he certainly has all the tools to do it, all the capabilities, both offensively and defensively. And I expect a monster season from Owen Power this year in Buffalo. And that leaves number 1, where I have Matty Beniers of the Seattle Kraken, 19-year-old center, taken in the first round, 2nd overall by Seattle in that 2021 draft. Again, from the University of Michigan with that absolutely loaded roster that they had last season. He played 37 games in college for them last year, scored 20 goals, 23 assists for 43 points and a plus 29 rating. Great two-way center. I expect him to be the number 1 center for the Seattle Kraken this season. He came over after the college season and played in the NHL for 10 games last year, scored 3 goals, 6 assists for 9 points, and was a -1, obviously on a Kraken team that was not very good. But almost a point per game in the 10 games that he played last season. I don't know if he's going to be a point per game player this season as a rookie when he plays a full season at the NHL level, but I do think he has the potential to score 70-plus points, be the leading scorer of the Seattle Kraken this coming season, and probably be the leading scorer among rookies in the NHL this season as well. I think he's going to be their top center right out of the gate this coming year, and I think Matty Beniers has a very, very good shot to win the Calder Trophy this year, just because of the opportunity that he is going to get in that Seattle lineup, the amount of ice time he's going to get, the power play time he's going to get, and the fact that he is a fantastic, fantastic player as well. He's going to take advantage of that opportunity. And I have very, very high hopes for Matty Beniers this season. So he is number 1 on my list. But really, him and Owen Power, I think, are pretty comparable as far as 1 or 2. And then there's a lot of other great rookies coming into the league this season as well. So very, very deep class overall. So there you have it, everybody. Those are 10 prospects that I think could have a major impact at the NHL level this season, plus 2 honorable mentions. Like I said, this is a very, very deep prospect pool right now of guys that I think could become big-time NHL players and big-time producers as early as this coming season. And the Calder race this year might be one that's just absolutely nuts with some of the point totals that these guys have a chance to put up. And there's a lot of great players who haven't played a lot of NHL games yet that I think are going to get the opportunity to this year and have their first full NHL seasons. And it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. There's so much young talent in the league now. There's so many guys that produce big-time numbers at a young age and play very, very well at a young age. And I think this year we're going to see that big time with this crop of players coming in to, be full-time NHLers. Because all of these guys have less than 25 games of NHL experience. I think really there's a chance for all of them to be NHL regulars this year. So this is going to be one heck of a rookie class if they all do make it and all are full-time NHLers this season. And it's going to be very, very cool to watch and a lot of fun to watch with the creativity and just the ability and the talent that these young guys have. So hope you guys enjoyed this list. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys want to put your list down in the comments, I would love to see it. Who are young players that you think are going to have a big time impact this year? Again, the criteria is less than 23 years old and less than 25 games of NHL experience. But all of these guys, I think, are going to be playing a lot more NHL games this season. So let me know your list down in the comments. I'd love to see what you guys think. And with that, thank you all so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our merchandise store, memberships, and donations are down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll talk to you all very soon.